Yes, Steve Foster. That's a new jam, Steve Foster. I'm trying to get you in the 2014.
You can learn something from everybody. Let's do this. Let's do this.
This is like from a boy, Ryan, with it that's not here, that would probably have a song for the week. This is about Jam of the week. This is probably something that he would have pulled out his pocket. That Jam of the week. So, this for my boy Ryan. This for my little models down in Florida, Jamaris and Jada.
You know the shout-outs is next segment, but go ahead.
I understand, but I was feeling
co-host?
I was feeling
That's right.
it.
You got privileges.
And we got our boy Jay Foreman on.
Yeah.
Is he ready for us?
Yeah.
So he's our Texas insider, Houston Texas insider, Jay Foreman. And we want to welcome Jay Foreman to the show. How you doing, son?
I'm doing all right. What's up, fellas?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. You like that?
I see you guys getting a crunk in the studio.
Oh, so you like that? And Jay Foreman like that.
Jay Foreman like that?
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
All right. Hey, when's Jay Foreman coming down to Texas, man? Come on.
I know, man. I'm going to make it down there about 4 weeks into the season.
Okay, we miss you, dude.
I'm going to have to come down there on a Friday night or something.
And again, we don't put nothing on no face page or, where we are. We going to be where we at. We out, We don't know if we tell we're going to be in San Antonio, we're going to be in Austin. Heck, we may even stop off in San Marcos for a hot second. So it's good. Hey, tremendous game last night. The Texans hung in there. I really like, they came back and won the game. I like the defensive effort, Jay, and what I'm seeing, and no Clowney, and still people anticipating and breaking on the passes in the secondary, and a lot of short tackling by the Houston Texans.
Yeah, the good thing about it last night, Brian Cushing made his comeback. He was in there for a couple of series. He made a tackle in the backfield, so that lets you know that he's aggressive and he feels really confident on that knee. J.J. Watt, obviously, he showed up. He was effective, even though he didn't have a big day on the stat sheet, which you don't expect in the preseason game. Then with Clowney out, the defense held up against a high-powered Bronco offense led by Peyton Manning, who has really pretty much put it to the 49ers, this couple weeks ago. So I think the Texans have, that first game, I think everybody was ready to, oh, man, we're going to go 0-16. But I think now, people are starting to see the process and the type of leadership ability that Coach Bill O'Brien brings. And I think it's really showing off on the way the team overall in all 4 quarters, first, second, I guess some third teams when you're thinking about the roster has played throughout these last 2 preseason games.
Absolutely. We're talking with Jay Foreman, former starting linebacker for the Houston Texans, our Houston Texans insider. So where does the quarterback position stand? It's Ryan Fitzpatrick, and then do we keep Savage, and who may be that third guy? Is it Case Keenum? What's going on there in your estimation?
Well, obviously, I think Ryan Fitzpatrick is the clear-cut starter. I think Case Keenum is the number 2. I wouldn't say entrenched, but I think he's on his way to have his name written in there with Penn, and then obviously with Savage. I think Savage has obviously the most upside. He has a pretty strong arm, just not a lot of reps. I think he was out of football for 2 years. Got to play a year or 2 at Pittsburgh, and then he's on off to the NFL. So he's catching up, but he's working hard and he's improving every week. So I think for the short term, the quarterback situation looks pretty good. In the long term, I wouldn't say that they're ready to bet the house on Ryan Fitzpatrick, but I think he could be a gateway starter to, I guess, somebody coming in a year or 2. But I think he could be serviceable this year in the right system, and as long as he plays consistently and not be the bad Ryan Fitzpatrick that sometimes plays him.
Well, I think, Jay, you would agree if you have a stable of running backs, and it seems even without Arian Foster, decent productivity in the backfield for the Texans.
Yeah, the depth of running back. When you look at it on paper, they look like, maybe a Division I AA school. But the guys that they brought in, you got to think of. Look at Alfred Blue. He's looked really good. He's running powerful. He was in a backfield at LSU where there was 3 guys that were NFL ready. You had Jeremy Hill that went up to Cincinnati. You had him, and another guy that's going to come out next year. With Hilliard, and they're all going to go to the NFL. So his carries weren't a lot. But as you see, when he's starting to get his carries and more looks in the NFL, he has more tread left on those tires than a regular college kid that would come out of college after playing for 4 years. So I think that overall the Texans running back situation is better, but it's going to hinge on whether Arian Foster can stay healthy. I guess not for 16 games, but for the majority of the season.
We're talking with Jay Foreman, former starting Houston Texans linebacker and our Houston Texans insider. It seems that Andre Johnson has settled down a little bit. may want to stay in Houston, and got a nice compliment from tight end. And you also look out there, and who's the guy that they 2 years ago the draft?
Oh, yeah, DeAndre Hopkins.
Yes,
looks good.
Hopkins. Yes.
You see Martin's looking good. He's pretty good in the slot. And you see Devron Posey. He's starting to make some good catches. He had a big touchdown last week. He had some pretty good catches this week. So you see the overall depth of the wide receiver position come to light, because I think Bill O'Brien's passing game is a lot more aggressive than Gary Kubiak's was. So I think you're going to see guys to be able to show their athletic ability and show what they can really do, and why they were drafted in the second, third round, fourth round. Where guys have been kind of held under wraps, I think, over the last year or two. I think Bill O'Brien is going to, with his offensive playbook and play calling, is going to allow guys to really flourish in his system.
Absolutely. And again, the defense, takeaways were there. Special teams wasn't bad,
Yeah.
And so why is this Texans team, the Cowboys, you couldn't see them last night because of the Saints game coming on nationally, so kind of had to, feel your way through. They just got nipped at the end, 25-20. But I always have a feeling that the Texans seem like they're moving ahead. I know they had a worse record last year, and Dallas just seems to be steady Eddie. And steady Eddie, 8-8 isn't gonna work.
Yeah, they're from the forever land of 8-8. No matter what happens, that's the way the NFC East is. Though you got to think, for the last 3 years, the Dallas Cowboys ended up 8-8. Have been going down to the wire whether they were going to be out of the playoffs or NFC East champs. So it's not only the Cowboys; it's just that the Cowboys are there every year, and there's a rotation between the other three teams. Now with the Cowboys, I think their offense will be good. Tony Romo and the way they do things, I think they'll be good. With defenses, their defense is atrocious, and that's what's going to hold them back from being to get over that 8-8 hump. So that's what their Achilles heel is their defense. And, so far into the season, they won't be able to fix it. You can't go out and sign free agents. The draft is over. They have their coaches in place, so they're going to have to install, in my opinion, a bend but don't break defense. If they try to go out there and be too aggressive, they'll start setting records again like they did last year, and they won't be good records for defensive stats given up.
I'm glad you said that, because I was going to ask you how you position the defense there to do that. You played on that side of the ball. I think the Texans have a much greater upside in their defense, especially with the rush that they can generate, off the corners. It's going to kind of be something, I guess, like possibly 49ers, Seattle, and Denver get going with the DeMarcus Ware and Von Miller. They're going to be formidable off the edges.
The key is to be able to have a defense that you can only rush 4 and still get the job done. Mm-hmm. That's the key to a great defense.
That's going to be the key in the development of Jadeveon Clowney on both, I guess, regular base defense and the packages. That's going to be crucial, because when you think of, you have Clowney, you have J.J. Watt. If you line them up on the same side, or you mix and match, or have them moving around, those are two. Well, we know J.J. Watt's an established pass rusher. Then the real question mark is, who's going to be the other pass rusher on the outside? Is it going to be Brooks Reed, or is it going to be Whitney Merciless? Whitney Merciless and Brooks Reed are both, high draft choices. But Whitney, he had, I think, 9 sacks last year, but they were, I call them smoke and mirror sacks, just because there were a lot of sacks that he was going against running backs, and there was a couple ones where he just had, Jeff, when the quarterback knew he was going to get sacked, he went down. So I'm talking about beating guys and getting consistent pressure, and being physical at the point of attack when you're playing face and you're playing a nickel defense. So really, I would be surprised if Clowney doesn't have 6 to 9 sacks, and I know he will make an impact play or be effective in one way or another every game. Now it's just going to come down to who is going to show up on that other outside so they can rush for, and then Romeo Cornell can mix in his exotic blitzes that he's learned over the years from Bill Parcells, Bill Belichick, and then also let the back end start to gel. Because I think Jonathan Joseph has been out a lot in training camp. Kareem Jackson has been there. Then you have DJ Swearinger, where he's starting to come into his first year as a starter. And then you have the free safety position where you have a couple guys that are still competing. So you have to let the back end gel, but he can't gel if the front end isn't bringing that heat.
Absolutely. It's great assessments. Who do you think makes the team, or is there a surprise person that may not make the team for the Texans? I know there's one more game, so I mean, do we need to just wait and see and kind of check next week?
Well, it's really hard when you have a new coach and you have I wouldn't say a new GM, but when you have a new coach, even if you make the first initial team, they're still waiting on the waiver wire to see if there's a surprise cut or somebody they've been watching throughout the preseason. But, I'll just go with what we have on our roster and who I've seen play. One guy that I think will be on the Texans in some form or fashion, whether it's practice squad or on the regular roster, is Max Bulla. And he's a free agent linebacker from Michigan State. He has great pedigree, but when you watch him play, even though his measurables, and I'm talking about his, just particularly his speed, when he tested out the combine, wasn't very good. But when you see him play, he's always where he's supposed to be, and he's making huge plays every preseason game. So he would be my surprise, whether he's on the team or not. I think that would be a surprise because I think going into training camp, nobody expected him to be anything more than maybe a camp body. He's really, really showed some promise at linebacker position. So that's who I would say would be my surprise.
Okay. Well, fair enough. We can't thank you enough for certainly taking the time out. We always enjoy having you. We want to see you in person, man, and show you some of this. I know you know how Texas hospitality is because you did play some of your professional football here and had teammates, of course, that are from Texas when you played in the Big 12, Big 8 era. So, with that said, enjoy your week. It's coming close. You have any thoughts with this South Carolina A&M game coming up Thursday?
It's going to be interesting. I think South Carolina, oddly enough, is the one of the most consistent programs in the nation. Won 11 games last 3 years, but haven't sniffed the national championship. And then you have, what's A&M going to be without Johnny Manziel? So let's face it. As much as Coach Sumlin wants to say that they do have great individual players, Johnny Manziel single-handedly won, I think, 2 or 3 games last year. If you count the bowl game, you can count the Ole Miss game, and I think there was another game where he single-handedly won that game. So, with that being said, I would probably have, if I was a bet man, I would put my money on South Carolina because I think that South Carolina has more pieces coming back, even though they lost Clowney. But they're a pretty deep team, pretty well coached, and I think they're going to be pretty consistent throughout the time that Steve Spurrier is there.
Absolutely. I'll take that assessment, and everybody's going to be watching this new ESPN SEC network. I think it's going to be good. I really enjoyed the one with Auburn with Frank Thomas and Charles Barkley and Bo Jackson. So if you get it, watch it. Very interesting stuff. And, Jay, go Big Red, man. Appreciate you, and we'll be talking offline. Looking forward to having you sometime in studio.
Oh, thanks a lot.
Okay. You guys take care. All right, it is time when we come back real quick for your shout-outs. So, Spencer, Jeff, have them ready. We're going to take a sidebar and come right back with shout-outs right here on Land on the Law.